Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome to the penultimate round of the Go-Kart Championship in 2017. So these are the standings as we go into the penultimate round of the season here. So you can see round 7 results, which you guys saw on the channel about a month ago. I got slightly outscored by Tom in that one, meaning the gap is down. So it's 182 for me and 166.5 for Tom in P2. John jumped up to P3 in the standings. That's some good results. He is now on 104 points. Then Will and my dad are only separated by half a point. Then it's a bit of a jump back down to James, Tom, Luke, Will's dad, Josh, Archie and Jake, all fighting over that was that 5th, 6th place in the championship there, so it's still quite close there for P6 in the championship there, all to play for. So let's get ready for this 8th round of the season here. I'm going out of the pit lane here at, well, it's a different track. You might be thinking, yes, it is definitely a different track to Filching Manor, which we have been on quite a bit. This is Bayford Meadows, so we are in the 200cc karts. We couldn't get into the 270s, unfortunately, because Tom, my cousin, isn't quite old enough to go into those yet, but hopefully in the next couple of years we'll go into the 270 karts, which will of course be a little bit quicker. But the way this worked was the first one was technically like a qualifying session, practice session, and the second race was like a proper race. But as we always have 2 races in our sort of calendar, we sort of decided, well, what we're going to do is go out the grid, let everyone else that's racing get away. There's actually 4 other people we'll talk about in a second here, but we'll get into reverse order of the 4 people that normally come karting, which is myself, my dad, John and Tom. We're going to get into reverse order to what we are in the championship. So my dad's going to go ahead of us, then it's going to be John, then it's going to be Tom, then I'm going to slot in behind, and then we're going to get going once that order is set, and then we'll race against all the other guys. So we do have a couple more people that you might be wondering. There's 8 of us out on track here today, so there's a few people from university that I know. That's Connor and George, and also Paul and Gurdeep were there as well, who were friends and family of Connor and George, which is awesome to have them involved as well. So they're all having the normal sort of overalls on. So Connor, George, Paul and Gurdeep, I'll try and point them out as we go along, but they are very similar. You can't really see too much of a difference between them, except for a little bit of colour separation on all of the overalls. And there's one big change for this race, is that I actually got some different overalls on. You can just see me go on the right hand side of the screen right there, and John's got some new overalls on as well just in front. He's got my old overalls on. So we're now in the right order. My dad's ahead of John, and John is ahead of Tom, and I'm behind Tom. So we're all in the right order, and now we can start racing here. So my dad's trying to get past here, but he's not really too sure. He doesn't want to take any risks. And you see, I've gone around the outside of Tom there, but I thought, I don't know, are we actually racing? So what I decided to do is just let Tom through there, because I wasn't 100% sure. But now Tom going for the overtake on John. There's a bit of battling here on this first lap of this race here, and now it's all sort of worked out. John has dropped into P3. I'm going around the outside of John here. Tom looking over his shoulder. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing now, whether he was trying to let John back through. I'm not exactly sure, but nonetheless, Tom is through, and now that the battle is commencing here. So looking down the inside of my dad into the last corner here. I guess it's not really the last corner, it's technically the penultimate corner, but a nice little track, Bayford Meadows. And you may notice the slightly different camera angles. That's actually because they wouldn't let us put the cameras on the helmets, which is a bit unfortunate, because it gets much better views in my opinion. But John trotting down the inside of my dad, gets a little bit squirrely there, just about keeps it in the right direction there. But a tricky start getting used to the track, but everyone's in the right direction, which is good. But now Tom's down the inside of me. Good battle and a good overtake there for the lead, but I think he thought it might have been a little bit aggressive, so he kindly let me back through here. But I think that's what makes us both quite good competitors. We sort of know, we know when maybe a little bit was too much, but that was kind of Tom. But John has started to lose my dad and myself and Tom. We've sort of all pulled away quite a bit. John not settling into the rhythm of the track quite as quickly as the 3 of us so far, but I'm sure he'll get there. We all know John's pretty damn quick in a go-kart when he wants to be. So down the inside of Tom, sorry, now down the inside of myself, out on board with Tom, and he's got the overtake done, but runs a little bit wide. Has he completed the overtake? It's still quite close. We go back on board with me. He can see trying to go down the inside, but I didn't have quite good enough run out of that corner to get the overtake done, so I'm slotting up behind Tom for now. And it's the last corner. You can't really do an overtake here, so it's going to be tough, but you can see I've braked a little bit earlier and got a better run out of the corner than Tom. So down the main straight, you can see I'm trying to get the overtake done, but not quite enough top end speed. My dad's coming through there as well, and we've still got to overtake a couple of people. And oh, Tom's camera's fallen off there, and that was a bit unlucky for him, getting some good footage. Unfortunately, that fell off at turn 1 here, so early into this race here. But as I was saying, there's still a couple of people to overtake as well, so I think this is, we're coming up to Connor right now. You can see Connor with the yellow on the shoulders, going past him. Decent overtake there as I was trying to get past Tom, but I think Tom comes down my inside here, does he? Or is it? I think we're side by side right now, but I have the inside line on Tom through here, so I keep it tight, but I'm running a little bit wide. Not the greatest line through there, and I'm trying to defend from Tom. He might have a better run out of this corner than I do, so let's see down the back part of this track. But no, I don't think he'd have got the overtake down, otherwise I would have not gone away from the camera. So we're looking back on board here with John, who's trying to close down that gap to my dad. It stayed about the same. It's not sort of gapped that much in the last lap or so, but John, of course, is going to try and be battling down my dad, because quite a big sort of championship battle between those two in the championship for P3. My dad missed the last round, and it was really close in the championship between the two of them before that. So we will see how this race goes. But now on board my dad, he's now catching up with Connor here. This is for P3 on the road to Connor. He got out ahead of us in the pit lane. As I let everyone through, he sort of got out ahead of all of us. So yeah, he is actually in battle here for P3 with my dad here. So we're going to stay on board here, see whether my dad can get the overtake in. So this is a really interesting corner, this one. It's basically flat out, and then you sort of jam the brakes just about here. A really interesting corner here, and it's a tricky one as well, but my dad's got a good run through there. Connor has been here before. He lives quite near Bayford Meadows, so yeah, he's had a bit of a prior experience around Bayford Meadows, but the experience obviously not coming in too useful there, because this isn't actually the track layout he used before. So yeah, unfortunately for Connor, the experience he didn't come in too useful, because he hadn't actually raced on this layout before, and I think he was still getting used to the track himself. And of course the four of us obviously race go-karts quite a lot of the time, maybe every couple of weeks or so, and the guys I was racing with from uni and their friends, they didn't obviously go-kart as much. So now on board with myself here, I think that's Gurdeep, we've just gone past there, so we've just lapped him, which is obviously good for us. But obviously Gurdeep, I'm pretty sure first time go-karting for him. He's George's friend, who you also see in this with the white gloves. I think that's probably the first time go-karting for both of them. But now on board my dad, he's trying to catch up. I think this will be to Gurdeep as well, who of course just taking it easy. First couple of laps of this race, wants to make sure that he doesn't do anything too silly, and he's being a very sensible driver. He's keeping his social awareness pretty good, and he's knowing when people are coming past, and he's been a very sensible driver, which is obviously very good. Now board with John here, he's trying to catch up to Gurdeep as well. You can see my dad's sort of gone off into the distance a little bit here, but oh, what's this, a spin? I think this is Connor. Unfortunately for Connor, I think he's spun around there, and that's lost him obviously quite a bit of time. So Connor's spun around there, which is would have lost, I don't know, probably like 10-15 seconds there, especially he had to sort of steer back onto the grass there. So that's promoted John up to P4 on the road now. He's coming up to lap Gurdeep as well. Is he going to be able to get that overtake done? We'll see, obviously, in time. But unfortunately, this camera, it's really annoying. Don't know why it decides to fog up like halfway through a race. We're not even halfway through the rush. We might just be about halfway through the session, but like, seriously, it's not got a very good casing on it, obviously. That it's just, I don't know. It's a pretty expensive camera, but I don't know how this is such a problem with it. It's strange. But anyway, John keeping the pressure on here to try and catch up to Gurdeep, who's had a bit of a better lap time here. He's not quite as... well, actually, maybe that could have been Gurdeep who spun. I'm not too sure. We'll see. We'll see. I know that there was a bit. Sorry, it was Gurdeep who spun. This is Connor spinning right now. So apologies there to Connor for saying that he spun. It was actually Gurdeep that spun there just in front, and now he's got past Connor. So that's for P4 on the road. Good stuff from John. He's up to P4. It's going to be some valuable points for the championship. So now back on board with myself here, and we're just trying to keep the consistent lap times in. I did see I was pulling away from Tom ever so slightly, which is important, of course. If I can gain some points in the championship, that would be good. And of course, the 5 extra bonus points for the fastest lap will be important as well. And considering none of us had been karting here before except from Connor, it was all sort of very equal, basically. It was all down to try and get the fastest lap through skill, so not down to experience whatsoever. So now we're catching up to, I think this could be George, as you can see with the white gloves. So George goes to the inside. Don't know whether he saw me on the outside, but I go past on the outside a little bit deep into the corner. But I get it turned in, and we're promoted ourselves another lap ahead of George. And now George has got a bit of a, well, he's a sort of a bit of a buffer between myself and Tom, who just comes across the line just behind us there. And who's that? Was that someone spinning in the background? I'm not too sure. Back on board myself here, so this is coming up to the back of Paul here to put a lap on him. So George is quite close to Paul, and oh, who's this? Is this Connor again? The Connor's off the road. What's he doing? Connor's gone for another spin there by the look of that, so that's unfortunate for Connor. A couple of spins in as many laps there, but that's promoted as a lap ahead now of everybody on track, which is pretty good. So, well, sure, not everyone on track, everyone that hasn't been karting before. And now on board my dad here, I think this is catching up with, is this Gurdeep or is this possibly Paul? We'll see. Or is this Connor recovering from a spin? It's hard to tell until we get a bit closer. I'm pretty sure that's Connor after recovering from a spin, of course, on the gravel. But he's going to put a bit more of a defence to my dad, side by side between the two of them here. And I think Connor's going to keep the inside line. Is he? Side by side between the two of them here, down the back straight. I think Connor's still on the inside here. I think he'll get the move, or keep the move for now, but it's a nice little battle here between him and my dad. So my dad's probably a little bit wary. He's trying to battle with John over P3 in this championship. Probably doesn't want to be battling Connor, who is a lap down, but it's go-karting at the end of the day. It's supposed to be a bit of fun, and Connor's doing a good job of keeping it on the inside here, but my dad's going to look for an overtake here through the fast right-hander. He's taking a much better line through there. He's got the inside line into the last corner, and it's going to be an overtake done. Yes, it is. So there we go. My dad has promoted himself a lap ahead of Connor. So we had 15-minute sessions here, so we're probably about 2/3 of the way through this race now, just over, or just actually, sorry, just below, because we had the intro bits, didn't we? So yeah, of course. So yeah, be interested to see who's going to come out the top of this race. Of course, I had the early advantage. I have the early pace advantage over Tom, but am I going to be able to keep that for the rest of this race? It's going to be an interesting one to conclude this race off here. But of course, championship points are available for fastest lap, which we need to definitely keep an eye out who's going to get the fastest lap of this session, and it's also going to put us on pole position for the next race as well. So it's a double bonus here in this one at Bayford Meadows. So on board with John, you can see he's not really that far behind my dad, who are just on board with there, but he's definitely got a bit of work to do here to try and close in a little bit. So John, unfortunately, has lost quite a bit of time to my dad here, even with a little bit of a battle with Connor. My dad didn't lose that much time. I think John was obviously just getting used to the circuit still, and of course he's a big fan of go-karting, but here, not today. He hasn't quite got the pace of my dad, unfortunately, so we'll see how this finale goes of this race. But it's going to be an interesting one between those two for the championship in P3, that is, of course, so we'll see how that all evolves. So there we go. George is battling away here down the main straight, and it's George. I think that might be George, Gurdeep and my dad. So George has gone down the inside here. No, this isn't Gurdeep, sorry, apologies. This is Paul. This is a battle for position, actually, between the two of them here. P5 between George and Paul here. So close. My dad trying to go the outside of both of them here as he can get that overtake done. No, Paul's kept the inside line, and George has got the overtake done as well. So that's a promotion of position for George here. My dad's got a good run out the corner, and well, look at this. George good on the inside, still keeping the position, and he's ahead of Paul still, which is important, but he's gone a little bit deep into that corner there. My dad should be able to put the lap on George now. No, George has got a good enough run out the exit of the corner. My dad's going to have to use those racing lines through the previous experience to try and get past here, but I think we are coming out to the back of Gurdeep here, so this could be an opportunity. My dad looking to the outside here, but unfortunately for him, once again, that's not going to be the right line unless George backs off a little bit early. No, George keeping his foot stuck in exactly like he should be, to be perfectly honest. But now my dad's side by side through here, and he's got the overtake done as he get deep as well. Yes, he is, just about. He's got them both there, which is good for him, and George will probably put a lap on Gurdeep as well. So there we go, some positions or some laps put on people there. So now on board with John here. I think he's catching up to Gurdeep as well. I think Gurdeep might have just sort of flat out got out of the way of everyone, sorry, and I think he might have just done a good job of that into the last corner. Yeah, I think this is Gurdeep here. He's going through the last corner. John's going to put the power down here out the final corner, or is this Connor recovering from a spin? This could be Connor recovering from a spin. Apologies. Connor and Gurdeep do both have the same sort of the shoulder colour things there. That's the one thing that they do have in common. I think it is Connor because the pace is pretty good right now. But is he going to be able to look on the inside here? John, is he going to be able to push for the overtake? He's following Connor quite closely here. Obviously where that Connor goes a little bit deep into the corner. Gurdeep leaves some inside line, and he's going to get them both there. So a nice little overtake there from John, getting them both at the same time there, and not really losing too much time out of it as well. So really, really good stuff. We've got about a minute and a half of this race remaining here. Are we going to be able to pull off a good result? We'll see. But by this time of the race, I am really pushing here to try and make sure that I get that fastest lap and pole position here. But it's all down to that. I know that I've got the win over Tom now, unless I do anything too silly. That's going to be 15 points in the bag for the championship, which for now at least will extend the lead a little bit. But it's pretty much guaranteed to go down to the last round, which is really, really exciting. Of course, I haven't had a go-kart championship go down to the finale before, so of course that's exciting, and hopefully it's going to be a great battle there at Filchie Manor, which will be the finale of the season here. But it's a really good season, going up to different tracks and just enjoying it. I've really, really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can evolve it even more in 2018, of course. So yeah, as we're going up to the last couple of corners here, it might actually be the last lap of the race here. We'll see as we go around the last couple of corners whether we do get the checker flag this lap or it's another one. Right, last corner, really pushing to the max as we go through the last couple of corners and up to the start finish line. I think that is, yeah, that's the checker flag, and I've won the race. 15 points for that. And actually, I did manage to get the fastest lap as well, which was good. So, really good race for me, myself there. That's 20 points in the bag from that race, 15 for the race win, and 5 points for the fastest lap. Tom actually finished 10.46 seconds behind, and then my dad was technically a lap down, and John was technically a lap down because it's the way that they stopped the race. So they sort of stopped it as they went across the line one lap before. So unfortunately, they didn't get the extra lap in there. But yeah, not technically a lap down, I guess. George ended up in P5. Paul managed to just sneak ahead of Connor in that race to get P6. Then Connor did actually finish in P7 after a really strong start after a couple of spins. Gurdeep was 3 laps down in P8. But nonetheless, let's get ready here for the second race of the day. I start on pole position here on board with John. You can just see starting P4 after the 4th fastest time in quali, and it's going to be interesting to see. So we don't start in the order we finished that last race. We start in the order who got the fastest lap. So looking on board my dad, and then we're going to look on board with myself here. Nice clear road down to turn 1. We don't really have a clear indication of the start here. It's just going to be a checker flag. You can see the left hand side of the screen here. The lights are out toward the checker flag is dropped, and away we go. I get a decent enough start here, but these karts don't have exactly great top sort of acceleration here. They're quite slow. So heading down to the first corner, I keep the inside line here. Tom's going to look around the outside here. And just down this part of the track here, it's really weird. I just didn't have any top end speed. My dad sort of backing off here. I'm not sure exactly. Tom was sort of weaving a little bit to my side of the track. I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. I think we were both a bit confused about the start procedure. But Tom's through. And John is through as well. Nice little overtake there on my dad to get himself up to P3. That's going to be big for the championship. So I drop into P2 now behind Tom. Going to be an interesting battle between us here for the rest of this race here. Can I claw back those points? If I can win this race, I'll get maximum points, which is obviously massive, and if it was to finish that way, it would nearly steal the championship, but we'll see how this race concludes. So back on board my dad, he's battling away with John here. This is for P3, the two of them. It's great to see John manage to get a great start there and get ahead of my dad there to get involved in the battle, but now he's going to have to keep pushing here because my dad did have the pace advantage in that first race. I could be wrong, but I think there was about a second in it in terms of fastest lap time between John and my dad in that first race, but we'll see how it goes here in the second race. Can John get that advantage? So through the last corner up to the start finish line, Tom leads. I'm in second position. Third place is just John. Fourth place is just my dad. And then we've got the rest of the guys behind. I think George is currently in P5 and Connor's up to P6. So great to have a little battle between those two. Unfortunately, no cameras on board with those two there in this race weekend. But looking down the inside here, John doesn't defend the inside line. I personally don't think he probably expected my dad to get such a good run through the first corner. My dad sort of gets quite an easy overtake there on John and he gets himself up to P3. On board with John here, you can see the camera, unfortunately, is just keeping to fog up. It's like, what's he doing? I don't know, but unfortunately, that's the case. Now, John, you can see my dad made a slight mistake through there, so John's going to try and take a different line through this corner, a bit more of a racing line. But he can't really close in on my dad, unfortunately. For now, he's going to have to stay in P4, but he might be able to close that battle down and possibly get the lead. The third place on the podium, not the lead of this race. The third place on the podium could be up for grabs here for John, which would be very important for him. Could he do it in this race? It would be interesting to see. So now back on board myself as we go into the last corner. Now challenging Tom quite a lot here. I did have the pace advantage over in the first race, of course, because I got the pole position as well. I think it was about half a second in it between us in terms of fastest lap. And over the 15-minute session, it was about 10 seconds on the road as well. So I think I did have the pace advantage over Tom, but of course I didn't want to do anything too silly. I felt like I was in a pretty good, strong championship position right now, so I didn't want to do anything too silly, spin out, and unfortunately I could drop behind my dad and John as well, and maybe the others as well, if I did anything too silly. So I need to make sure I didn't do anything too silly at the early stage of this race, and maybe once we get a bit of a gap, I might be able to push and possibly get an overtake on Tom, but we'll see how the rest of this race goes. Obviously, I'm putting the pressure on, trying to take different lines through the corners to try and get a better run, but so far not quite working for me, unfortunately. But we'll see how this race goes. It's going to be an interesting battle between myself and Tom in this one. Tom definitely knows how to defend and race a go-kart properly. I think it's been such a good championship battle between us this season. Of course, so far I've had the upper hand in general, but it's been very, very close. We've had, until this race weekend, we've had the equal amount of wins as well, so it's really, really close between us. So excited to see how the finale of this season is going to go. But if I do manage to pick up a victory in the second race here, it's going to be an 11-point swing. Tom would get 24 points. I would get 35 because I got the fastest lap as well. So it's quite a big gap there if I do manage to get the double victory here today. Of course, I was going for it, but thinking at the same time, I don't need to do anything really too silly because I'm in a pretty good championship situation. But at the same time, I'm a racer. I always want to win, and who knows, there might be a trophy up for grabs. So putting the pressure on Tom is going a little bit wide there. side by side, but it's not going to work out because he's got enough speed through being a little bit lighter than me to get the overtake back done there. But I'm trying to take these wider lines, but I don't think it worked through that corner. It just wasn't that sort of corner where you could sort of take a different line and it would make such a big difference here. But this long left-hander, it's sort of like really tough to know what the actual line through that corner is. You could go really tight, scrub off a bit of speed, but then obviously not have to go so far, or do what I was doing, which was taking a bit of a wider line. I don't know whether that was good or not, but who knows. I think actually one of my subscribers actually worked at Bayford Meadows, which is really cool. He didn't say hi to me there because he was busy, but I think he works there, which is really cool, and I appreciate all the service that Bayford Meadows did. That was really, really good. I appreciate it. My obviously everyone racing really appreciated it as well. It was just a good time, and I really, really enjoyed it. One of the best go-karting sessions I've ever had. It was just so much fun. So there we go, Gurdy being overtaken there, being put a lap down here, but Tom, through taking a deep line as well, he sort of ruined his run out the corner a little bit as I'm side by side here, and I've gone down the inside but trying to not run too wide because I know Tom's there, meaning he can get the outside line unfortunately, so I couldn't keep that move, or couldn't get that move stuck unfortunately because I just couldn't keep the pace through the corner because I was taking such a tight line through there. It was a bit unfortunate. But let's go on board here with John a little bit further back here. He's still trying to keep up with my dad here. It's not such a big gap as it was in the first race here, but unfortunately the gap has gone up. So John is starting to lose my dad a little bit here, meaning valuable points in the championship could be lost here. I mean, the difference between points for third and fourth isn't massive, but it will be, I think, an extra 4 points if my Dad finishes third, and if John finishes fourth. I think that's 4 points swing in it, so it does close up the championship between them here. It's going to be an interesting finale in Filching Manor in about a month's time. So there we go, John just going on the outside of Gurdeep there to put him a lap down as well from his perspective, but John just making sure he keeps the pace together, and if anything does happen with my dad, if he does make a mistake, John's going to be ready to pounce there and get that podium position back. And as he heads to the last corner, you can see he's trying to take a good line through there, keep the pace up, and there's a possibility if anything goes wrong with my dad, who's down at turn 1 right now, there's a chance he may be able to get the overtake done on my dad. But my dad's got pretty good pace here today, to be fair to him. I think I spoke to him after he really enjoyed the track actually. He said that this was probably his favourite go-kart track I think he's raced at. I mean, he likes Filching just because he knows the track, but in general I think he really, really liked this track. The karts as well, even though they didn't look like they were brand new, or they didn't look like they were that particularly fast, they were pretty sprightly in a straight line, and I also think at the same time they just provided with good racing as well, because the tyres didn't have massive amounts of grip, and meaning you get a bit loose now and again, and it meant that the possibility for an overtake was obviously greater as you made more mistakes with the less grippy tyres. So good stuff. My dad keep putting in the consistent lap times in there, and it looks like he might be on the course for a double podium, which we'll be happy with. But we'll go back on board in a second here. Myself here, the big battle in this race, of course, between myself and Tom here, battling over P1. And this is obviously going to be big for the championship, as I said. Lots of championship connotations in this race, but Tom's drifted a little bit wide there. We've got the inside line run, but Tom just about defends that move. He defends the inside line still, though. I've tried to take a wider line through this corner, but I slip it a little bit sideways through that corner. Even though it was a decent enough run through that corner, it wasn't good enough to get down the inside of Tom there. But he's made a wide line through here. I just don't think a wide line through this corner was working out one bit. We got a decent enough run out of here, but look, we just can't go any faster there. So I think taking a tighter line might have actually been a bit better through that corner. But Tom trying to take the tighter line to the corner, hopping over the curb a little bit. See, it's so equal between the two of them. It's hard to tell what the faster line is here, but putting the pressure on Tom. Is he going to be able to crack under the pressure, or might we be able to get past when we go to lap someone? Who knows? I think we're coming up to a lap pool here, so we'll see as we go in the last corner. It's so close between the two of us here, and I've got a decent run down this main straight. Is Tom going to defend the inside line? No. Well, he's sort of gone in the middle of the track as we go into the first corner, and Paul, it's going to be a tough place to overtake him here. Is Tom looking one way then next? He's looked to the right hand side, and I follow him through there. I appreciate Paul being very, very kind there, not doing anything too aggressive, and keeping the battle between us very, very tight here. So good stuff from Paul. I think he realised he wasn't in a battle between the two of us, and it was a really nice gesture there to not put up too much of a fight. And after that, I did lose a little bit of ground here. You can see I've lost quite a few kart lengths to Tom here, meaning I need to catch that back up. So how long is that going to take me? Of course, it's going to be tough because we know we're very, very similar. I'll say maybe that's a second, so that might take me over a lap now, because I think Tom's lap times are improving all the time. I definitely think he improved in the second race. He was much quicker, but he did make a slight mistake there, which put me a lot closer to him once again. He ran and drifted a little bit wide, and Gurdeep going one way, then I try and go on the outside. Yeah, that lost me a bit more time as well, so that's not Gurdeep's fault. I should have gone to the inside. It was a silly mistake on my part, just trying to make it too complicated. I was trying to obviously get the upper hand on Tom, maybe get a nice move around the outside of Gurdeep and get a bit closer to Tom, but it didn't work out to that gap. Now it's probably about a second and a half as we go into the latter stages of this race. Now, not too much of this race to go, about 5 minutes just over of this race remaining. Are we going to be able to get this victory, or is it going to be another race victory for Tom? Because it's been so close this season. As I said, going into this round, we have the equal amount of wins as the most wins in the series as well. It's just such a good battle between us here, and of course, I've been a little bit lucky to say over the season, picking up a couple more points when I wasn't winning, but it's still so close between us, and it's obviously really exciting that it's going to most likely go to the championship finale in Filtru Manor in about a month's time if the results stay this way. So now we're coming up to lap, I think this could be George. We'll see how we go past them, of course, but there's a possibility of get past George, and I think Connor's not that far up the road either. I think George and Connor are quite close on track here, so we're now trying to catch up to George. He's pretty quick, and so is Connor, to be fair to them, even though I don't think I don't think George ever went karting before, and I'm pretty sure Connor's only been a couple of times here before, so to be fair, their learning curve was really, really good considering it's their first time. And George letting Tom go through there, did it? Well, he's not, you know, just letting him through. He's done a pretty good job, George, of just keeping up with them in a straight line. But I think the biggest thing when learning karting is the braking zones. And obviously, when you go kart as much as we do, you sort of get used to the braking zones a whole lot easier. And you can see there we've got much later on the brakes in comparison to George, who probably braked a little bit early because he's unsure about exactly where to go. But yeah, this corner, I kept thinking it'd be a great, position to gain time, but there's something about it. It's just not the greatest corner to gain time on. The kart just doesn't like going through there. This corner, to be fair to it, I did actually say it wasn't a great corner to get momentum, but to be fair, there I did close in a little bit on Tom, and through this corner here, this is one of the trickiest ones. And if you get this right, in comparison to where you get this wrong, it's a great place to make up time. So now going to the latter stages of the lap once again. I don't think we're going to be able to pull off an overtaker here on Tom, but we might be able to get a bit close enough here. Down the main straight, we've got a really good run through here. Take a tighter line through there, which is good. A slightly better run than Tom down this main straight. Now he's slightly lighter, so he's got the slight top-end speed advantage, even though I did get a better run. Through turn 1, which is nearly flat, running out a tad wide. And I'm looking down the inside here. It's not really overtaking the opportunity, but we could go down the inside possibly. I mean, I could have maybe risked it, but now we're coming out to the back here of Connor, and Tom has made a slight mistake. He's got slightly bogged up behind Connor, but Connor's defending the inside line as well. It's 3 wide right now and turning into the left-hander. I turn in, but Tom gets the switch back here and gets the overtake done. Oh, that's really unlucky for me there. I got a nice little move on both of them, but unfortunately, as I was going so tight into the corner, because Connor was obviously in a bit of a sandwich there, unfortunately, I took such a tight line to the corner, and I had so slow entrance or exit speed, meaning, yeah, there was not much hope for me there. And oh, it gets close. There's a tiny bit of contact there as we both take very different lines through the long left-hander. But it's all so close here with a couple of laps remaining. Who's going to take this one? Who is going to take this one? It's really exciting to see, and hopefully it's a nice little battle here. So we're going into the last corner, the last proper corner once again. We get a better run once again. I'm looking to the inside here. Is Tom going to look to the right-hand side? No, he isn't. I'm just going to duck into the slipstream here, and through turn 1, I'm going to take a bit of a tighter line here. I get a pretty good run through here, and Tom defends the inside line, so he goes defensive. I go to the outside, and I take a nice little cut back down the inside, so I get a nice little overtake down the inside. It's side by side between myself and Tom. Tom's still down the inside, unfortunately, there, so I didn't quite edge him out enough, and I unfortunately don't get the lead of this race here, but it's so close between us here. Great battle between us here for the lead of this race. It's been such a good battle from start to finish in this one, and I think we haven't had like an incredible amount of on-track battles considering we're battling for the championship together here, but this is one of the best for sure this season. Now trying to lap Gurdy once again. He does a good job just staying out of the way, and I got a bit deep into this corner here, but Tom doesn't get the greatest run through there either, so still even Stevens here as we go very close to the end of this race. I'm pushing, trying to get down the inside, not quite there, and it looks like another lap I'll have to stick behind Tom because I can't really get past him here, and I'm so close. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get the overtake done here. So now we're going to quickly go on board with John here and see how he's getting on this race, because I didn't get that overtake down into turn 1, so I wanted to show a bit of footage from John's point of view. He's obviously just keeping go around, making sure that he keeps those consistent lap times up, because if anything does happen in front, he wants to make sure he can pick up the spoils if that does happen. So John just keeping in the consistent lap times, and he's doing a good job of it. I mean, I'm just quickly looking at his fastest times right now. We've got them just here in front of us. He had a pretty decent lap time there. It was a 1:08.9, and I'd say that's a pretty solid effort. They did say on their website that you normally get about a 1:10 to a 1:15 as an average lap time. And considering John's under that by over a second, I think I'll be pretty happy with that. And to compare lap times, overall, my fastest lap time was a 1:04.7. Tom's was a 1:05.2. My dad's was a 1:07.5, and then obviously John with a 1:08.9. So it's quite close between all of us there. Not that many seconds between us. All a bit sideways there, as my dad just about squeezes past. I think that was Connor getting a bit sideways, and maybe George. But nonetheless, on board myself. It's the last lap, and I'm not going to quite get the victory. So congratulations to Tom. A great drive. Brings himself home some valuable points there. Now on board my dad here on this last lap of the race, you can see he's going side by side, and he's got an overtaking lap done there. I think that was on George there. So good stuff from my dad. He's keeping the pressure on, he's keeping the pace up here, even though this is the last lap of the race for him. You can see he's trying to make sure that he gets as many people lapped as possible. I think this might be Deep. We're coming up to the back of here. Yes, I think it is just around the outside there. So with that, I think he's going to be very happy with the pace he had here today. Even though he couldn't quite live with myself and Tom's pace out front, he was, I'd say, comfortably quicker than John, but it wasn't that much quicker between them. It was still quite close between them. I think John won't be too disappointed. He still has third place going to the last round of the championship, which we'll look at the stats in a second here. But everyone filtering across the line there. There's Deep, and I think, is that George, or it could be Connor just rolling across the line there. So good stuff, and we're going to see John come around the last couple of corners any second now as well. So good stuff. Really interesting race. The race ended with Tom winning. I was in second place, third place for my dad, fourth place there for John, fifth place went to Connor, sixth place went to George, seventh place went to Paul, and eighth place went to Deep as we all crossed the line there. Good stuff. So this is how the championship looks then, with one round remaining. It's a decent lead for myself here, and I'm pretty happy with it, I'm not gonna lie. So I've got was that a 20.5 point margin going to the last round of the season, and that's pretty decent. 214 to 193.5. John has got a 17 point lead over my dad going into the finale. That's going to be quite close between those two, and my dad obviously picking up some valuable points to get away from winning the championship as well. James and Tom not racing, as well as Luke, but obviously the main battle in here is between first and second, and between third and fourth. It's getting interesting, really interesting here. Maybe you guys can put your comments down below who you think is going to edge the last round. 35 points available for the last round of the season, so it's still wide open who's going to get first place, who's going to get third place. It is looking quite exciting for a finale in about a month's time. As for the second page of the standings here, you can see Will's dad is at the top of that one, and then Josh, and then Archie, none of them racing today. George with a 5th and 6th, I think be pretty happy with that. Connor with a 7th and a 5th. Paul got a 6th and a 7th, so they're on 13, 12 and 11 respectively. Jake didn't race this weekend, is on 10, and Deep in his first karting experience picks up 8 points through a double 8th place finish, which I think he won't be too disappointed about, just getting those laps in. I think he enjoyed it, hopefully enjoyed it. But yeah, so thanks to everyone for coming. I really appreciate George and Connor inviting friends and family to the track, because we did actually need a couple of extra numbers, and I really appreciate that, because otherwise this race would have not taken place. And obviously great meeting up with George and Connor after quite a long time away from uni. And yeah, looks like it's going to be a great battle in the last couple of rounds of the season, or the last round of the season I should say, in Filtering Manor, coming up soon on the channel, guys. So thanks for watching. Please remember to drop a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. See you guys around soon. It's been Alex Maddy. Goodbye.